Hello and welcome to Mindful Living, where we explore the art of living with the intention, balance, and inner peace. I am Avik, your host, guiding you through conversations on health, meditation, mental well being, mindfulness, and the mind body connection. Each episode features expert insights to help you grow, heal, and thrive. So, take a deep breath, relax, and join us on this journey to a more mindful and fulfilling life. So, let's get started.
Hello and welcome back, listeners, to the Mindful Living podcast, where we dig deep into personal transformation, resilience, and the journey to self discovery. I'm your host, Sana, and today we have an incredible guest with us, Danielle Young, a life coach and yoga teacher whose story will leave you feeling inspired and empowered. Now, imagine this. She's not only a survivor of domestic violence, but has gone on to turn her trauma into a source of unbreakable strength. When traditional therapy didn't quite fit, Daniel found healing through yoga and self inquiry, reconnecting with her body and rewriting her story from victim to a victor. And now she's on a mission to help other women do the same, blending life coaching, yoga, and mindfulness into a holistic path for healing and empowerment. So get ready, listeners, to dive into topics like transforming trauma into resilience, breaking free from a victim mindset, and the unique ways Daniel's coaching programs can help others reclaim their power. It's going to be a conversation that challenges us, inspires us, and sheds light on the transformative power of mindfulness in healing. So let's jump in. Daniel, welcome to the show, and it is an absolute honor to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, Sana. It is great to be here.
Daniel, can you share the moment when you decided to take control of your story, your journey, and the transition from a survivor to life coach and mentor?
Sure. So it took a while. It took a few years for me to become a life coach.
Mhm.
That's only happened within the last 3 or 4 years. My story started out after I left the domestic violence situation. I had a 3-week-old newborn. And I looked at her and I knew that if I was going to be the mother that she needed, I needed to find a way to heal and to get myself together and to get my life together because she deserved that.
Right.
And I grew up in a family that did not believe in therapy. It was just everything was shoved under the rug. Nobody talked about anything. So it was really difficult for me to make that step. And it was actually at the advice of my attorney. He said, have you thought about therapy? And I thought, no, nobody in my family goes to therapy. Why would I? And, he said, I think it would be a really good option for you to just kind of help you with this. So I started going to traditional therapy. That didn't quite work for me. And
Mhm.
I did struggle with that for quite a few years. And eventually I found yoga. I had a coworker that I worked with. She gave me this yoga tape and I took it home and I kept it on a shelf for a long time before I got up enough courage to do it.
Mhm.
And the night I distinctly remember the night that I decided to try this yoga tape, and I felt very awkward and very weird doing it, but I got this weird sensation like, oh, I can actually do this. And it just became my nightly routine. I would just go through this,
Mhm.
VHS tape every night And I eventually started to get back into my body. I became so disconnected with the trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And yoga sort of became like a peace for me. It was so peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started meditating, and it took
Mm-hmm.
me a long time before I could even close my eyes fully to meditate. And, um, fast forward a few years, I'm still doing yoga, and I had an opportunity to do yoga teacher training. So I did that, and I'm now a registered yoga teacher. And then I had a health coach tell me,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you should try self inquiry. So I mentored in that, and now I'm a self inquiry coach. And
Mm-hmm.
then a friend of mine said, I would totally pay you to be a life coach. Like, you're amazing. You have a great story. Like, you should become a life coach. So I ended up taking a life coaching course, and now I'm a master certified life coach.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, it's been
That's
a journey.
yeah. This is a really empowering journey. Of course, with a very troubling beginning, but it's really empowering to know how you navigated through it and came out of it, and now you're helping others as well, especially women, in turning their lives. Uh, so I'm going to throw some stats here for our listeners around domestic violence. So if I talk about the US, around 1 in 4 women experience severe intimate partner violence. And if I talk about my country, India, 30% of women report experiencing domestic violence. And this is just the reported numbers. Despite
Mhm.
legal protections, underreporting remains a major issue in both countries because there are major societal surrounding factors uh, determining how the reporting has to be done.
Mhm.
But if I would like to ask you a question, what are some of the unique challenges women face when trying to leave an abusive relationship, and how can they start building a support network that empowers them to make that difficult step?
Yeah, so I'll answer the first part. So, what makes it difficult to leave an abusive relationship? I tried to leave my abuser 7 times. And, it there are a lot of components to domestic abuse. So, there's the financial aspect of it, where I was not allowed to have any money. So, for me to leave, that meant that I was broke. I had no money. I had, new baby. So for me and for a lot of other women, that is a contributing factor, the financial aspect of it.
Right.
Another big part of it is you're so manipulated that you feel like you can't live without this person
Okay.
because they have shamed you so much into believing that you need them to survive.
Yes.
And, it's not true, but that's how they control you.
Yes.
And for me, when I tried to leave, my abuser stalked me, he harassed me. It was just easier for me to stay at that point than it was to leave because I feared for my life when I left.
Mm.
And what did it for me, the final straw was he one night tried to kill me. And I said, that's it. I don't care anymore. I have to get out of this situation.
Right.
So a lot of women just feel like they're trapped. They feel stuck. They feel like they have nowhere to go. There weren't a lot of resources out there. It's
Mhm.
gotten better, but there's still lacking in the amount of resources that are available to women who have been through trauma and domestic abuse. The second part of that, I'm sorry, can you repeat the second
Yeah.
question that you?
Sure. So how can women start building a support network that empowers them to make that difficult step to leave and get out of it?
Yeah, so You have to be, and I don't like to promote this, but you do have to be sneaky about it, because as soon as your abuser finds out that you are making a plan to leave, your life does get worse.
Yes.
So my advice is to open up your own bank account, first of all, if you don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, involve family and friends. Um, Talk to trusted people and start there. Tell them this is what's going on. This is what I need to do, and accept the help that they're willing to give you.
Hmm.
Start putting away your own money. If that's borrowing money from a family member, if that's, borrowing money from a friend, if that's taking out a loan, just find a way to start putting your own money away so that when you do leave,
Mm-hmm.
you have that safety net.
Correct. Yep.
Those are the two biggest things that I would suggest. Family and friends are going to be a huge part of it, because chances are you haven't told them. If you're going through abuse, no one knows.
Exactly.
So, first step, involve them, tell them what's going on, ask for help. You would be really surprised on who is willing to offer you a couch or a room or something if you just ask for it.
Right. That is, I totally agree with you. And about when you mentioned about the challenges faced when trying to leave an abusive relationship, I totally relate to that, because I have been through a similar situation a few years back, probably 6, 7 years back, and the financial aspect is the worst that can happen, because unknowingly the abuser has total control on everything, whether it's your bank account, it's your cards, anything. And secondly, it can be so manipulative. So
Yeah.
it's a very difficult situation. Okay, so Daniel, now talking about in your experience, what are some of the biggest misconceptions people have about domestic violence survivors and the process of moving forward?
Yeah, so some of the biggest myths that I've debunked are, well, why didn't you just leave?
Yep,
Well, I would if I could. you know,
exactly.
it's why did you let this happen to you? Well, you don't just let it happen to you. It's a gradual process, and it is manipulation.
Yes,
You don't know it. It's sort of like a, can't see the forest for the trees situation. You're in it and it's happening and you don't realize it. So I would say, why didn't you just leave? You can't. And the other big one I would say is, after you leave this situation, people will say, why can't you just let it go? Like,
mm,
I can't believe you're not over it yet. Like, it's done, it's over. You're not with him anymore. Just let it go. And those people have absolutely no idea the mental and physical anguish that you have gone through. It's
correct,
not just letting it go. Like, it is ingrained in every cellular being of your body.
correct.
So I would say those are probably the biggest ones that I've actually been part of. I've actually been told. And then, what was the second part of your question?
Uh, yeah, I'll just quickly repeat it for you. So, uh, about also moving forward, the process of moving forward, moving on from it, misconceptions about that as well.
Yeah, so that goes back to the just let it go. It is, and people think that when they get out of a situation like this, that they'll just automatically be fine. And that
Mm,
can't be farther from the truth. What happened to you was not your fault, but healing from it is your responsibility. So the key here is small steps. It's finding little ways to reclaim your identity, find joy in things, reconnect with friends, because there's a lot of isolation that goes in with domestic abuse.
Yeah.
Putting yourself in friendly situations with people who you trust. That's going to be a big part of healing. And also, if one-on-one therapy works for you, great. Find something that works for you. I am a big proponent of EMDR.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the behavioral trainings, different modalities of therapy, find something that works for you because it will be beneficial. And I know a lot of people think that they don't need therapy or they don't need to go through anything like this. And you do. um, you may not need it forever,
Mm-hmm.
but you will need it in the beginning just to kind of help you deprogram from what the manipulation that your abuser put you through.
Right. That is absolutely right. And many people may not realize how trauma lives in the body. It may be in their subconscious mind, or, for example, I have had a lot of nightmares
Mm-hmm.
after the entire episode. So, how did reconnecting with your body through yoga influence your healing journey?
Yeah. So when you are faced with, a traumatic event or, in our case, long periods of trauma, your nervous system gets dysregulated. And what that does is it activates your sympathetic nervous system where you're always in fight or flight mode. And that will do crazy things to your body.
Yeah.
What I found with yoga was I was able to sit and get out of that fight or flight mode and into my parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest mode. And it was easier for me to switch to that mode than it was to just stay in fight or flight because
Hmm.
I could just sit, I could sit in the poses and I could just sort of breathe and reconnect and just tell myself I'm safe right now. I'm safe here in this moment. And it really is all about regulating your nervous system in the beginning. And yoga was a huge, huge, huge part of that for me.
Hmm. And can you tell us more about your coaching approach, Daniel, and how it helps women who have experienced trauma rediscover their inner strength?
So my coaching program, it's a 90-day program. And the first part of it, we deal with that nervous system regulation. So
Mm-hmm.
coming back into the body, meditations, exercises, somatic things that we can do to come back into the body. We, get into that parasympathetic system. And then we go to sort of like a reprogramming where we do affirmations. And I'm a huge proponent for mindfulness, journaling, getting into a morning routine,
Mm-hmm.
really the self talk. We work on self esteem issues. We work on limiting beliefs. That is a big part also because it's changing your perception of what was to what is. So we work on that. And then that's really the bulk of the program. And then the last part of the program is integration. So it's doing those things daily and continuing to live that way on a daily basis, integrating the affirmations, integrating the gratitudes, the self-esteem things that we work on, there's worksheets. And I also include self-inquiry sessions where we work on a negative thought and, we kind of question it and we turn it around. That was a huge healing factor for me was self-inquiry because you see things from different perspectives. So there's a lot of that in there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and really just focusing more on this was the past. It doesn't define my future. And learning how to form a new relationship with what has happened.
Mm. Makes sense. Um, yeah, yeah, you were saying something, Daniel.
Huh?
Yeah, you were saying something.
Mm, no.
Oh,
I was.
okay, so moving on to the next question. Some might say trauma is something that can never truly be healed. So, how do you respond to those who believe it's impossible to fully move past a traumatic experience?
I would say that those people haven't found the right thing that works for them. It is totally possible to move past a traumatic experience. I am living proof of that. Like I said, it's forming new relationships with it, right?
Mm.
So it's forming new relationships with the thoughts and what happened. You're never going to forget what happened, but you can reframe it and form a new relationship moving forward with it. So what
Mm.
happened to me was not my fault. And I realize that now. And I'm able to take that and say, okay, this happened to me, yes, but that's not who I am anymore. And that, and it helped me really set boundaries
Exactly.
because in the past I didn't have boundaries. I didn't know what they were. I was really young when this happened to me. I was only 19, 20. And so that really helped me with, okay, now I know what I do want in my life, what I don't want in my life. It is absolutely possible to heal. You just have to put in the work. And
It is
it's not, but it is possible.
great. And for listeners who may be struggling with a victim mindset, Daniel, what practical steps would you suggest to begin transforming their perspective?
So, for those in a victim mindset, I would say really question what your thoughts are.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that is, a lot of times we ask, why did this happen to me?
Right.
And shift that to a couple of things. What can I learn from this experience? And why did this happen for me? Not to me, but for me.
Hmm.
And really sit with that because staying in a victim mindset will impact your relationships all around you. Your world around you will be impacted
Yeah.
by that frame of mind. So, first step is recognizing it. The second step is saying, okay, I'm going to start questioning my beliefs and I'm going to start questioning my limiting beliefs. Why do I believe this about myself? And eventually, when you sit with that long enough, you will go back to, oh, because, I heard it here. And well, we know that that's not true anymore. And you can really start moving forward from there. Um, I was going to say something else and I forgot what I was going to say. I lost my train of thought.
No, no need to worry about that. But I agreed with what you said. Totally agree with what you said. It needs to shift the perspective, or to see things, situations from a completely new perspective, yourself as well. So it requires a lot of awareness, self awareness, and self realization.
Yeah, and self-compassion too.
Ah,
You know,
self-compassion.
yeah, self-compassion is so huge in this because I know when I first got out of this, I thought, why didn't I see this? I was so upset with myself. Like,
Mhm.
why did I stay? Why wasn't I stronger? I
Right.
really felt like I was weak. And instead, what I should have been saying to myself is, wow, look what I just survived.
Exactly.
You know, but we do that. We beat ourselves up and it's like, no, we've been beat up enough. If you've gone through that, you have gone through way more than any person should ever be exposed to. Stop doing it to yourself. Really have some self-compassion. Like, okay, I just survived this and wow, I'm really strong because I just went through that and I'm a survivor.
Right. Great. Great. That is really empowering, Daniel. And you blend mindfulness with coaching. So how does this combination empower women to let go of their past and embrace a fulfilling future? We talked about a few things, but if you want, if you would like to summarize for our listeners.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question again?
So, as you blend mindfulness with coaching, how does this combination empower women to let go of their past and embrace a fulfilling future?
Yeah, so mindfulness is a huge part of it because what I teach are affirmations and journaling are the two big components that I use in my coaching. Number one, affirmations, meditations, and self inquiry are all big parts of the mindfulness part of that.
Hmm.
Morning routines, journaling, it's really important to get those thoughts out so you can read them back and start questioning them. Um, why do I feel like this? Okay, what is this for me? I believe in free writing. I do it
Mm-hmm.
as part of my morning routine, and I also teach it in my coaching. Every morning, just brain dump onto a piece of paper,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't matter what you say, just let it go. Get it out of your head and onto paper. Okay, that's the first thing. The
Mm-hmm.
second thing is the reprogramming, right? So I the reason for the affirmations and the meditations is so we start reintegrating healthy phrases into our head. I I am smart. I am strong. You know, those are big parts of it. And then I always do gratitudes because when you are recovering from trauma or any sort of abuse, it's really, really hard to see the positive things in your life. And I feel like when we start shifting from seeing negative to positive, it shifts our mindset to start seeing positive all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to teach a lot of that. Write down 5 things that you're grateful for right now. And it could be anything. It could be, I have a comfy bed. It could be I have running water. It could be something as simple as I had, this really cool pen that I got to write this down with. I mean, it could be something really simple, but that's the beauty in it because you start to see the beautiful, simple things instead of the really big things. Because I feel like the small, simple things are more present in our lives instead of the big, big things. And if we set that expectation to see the beauty in the smaller things, then when the bigger things happen, it just means more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That I totally agree with that. And before we wrap up, Daniel, how did becoming a mother influence your healing journey? And what role did it play in shaping your mission to help other women recover from trauma?
So like I said, my daughter was 3 weeks old
Mhm.
when I left my abuser. And, I knew that I needed to be a good mom to her.
Mm.
And that was first and foremost. I wanted to be someone that she could look up to. And I didn't want someone else raising her. And that, kind of entered my mind at first. Like if I don't get myself together, I can't raise her. Someone else will have to raise her.
Mm.
And I did not want that. So that really, and just her and I kind of grew up together. Um, she just recently found out she's 24.
Mhm.
And I just recently told her everything that happened because I said, I'm restarting this coaching company, I'm rebranding, and this is the direction I want to move in.
Mhm.
I think it's time you and I have a conversation. And
Mm.
she, her and I sat down one night and I told her everything. And I kind of feel like this is my gift to her.
Mhm.
So because we were in this together and she was the reason why I didn't give up. She's the reason why I have worked so hard to become who I am now and where I am now. And this is it is my gift to her because I feel like the more message I can get out that, these are the red flags to look for.
Yes.
This is what happened. Be okay with setting boundaries, be okay with, good self esteem. Who cares about what other people think? If I can give that to her,
Mm-hmm.
then she won't have to go through what I did.
Correct. Well, Daniel, that was such a great conversation. And thank you so much for sharing, first of all, your powerful journey and also helping us, especially women who are going through the trauma, they want to get started with the healing journey, to uncover new ways to find strength and vulnerability and resilience in healing. So, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. I'm very honored to have been able to share my story here.
And if our listeners they want to connect with you, explore about your coaching, and seek some wisdom, how they can do that.
So the easiest way would be to go to my website. And I am on most of the social media platforms. The only one that I'm not on is X. So I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. I do have a private Facebook group, Survivors to Thrivers, and I'm just starting that up. So once I get that going, there's going to be a lot more in that group. But that's another way that if someone wants to, maybe not quite book a coaching session, but they kind of want to get some support, that's one way to do it. My website has all of my information on it. So that would be the first place I would go, be my website.
Great. We'll have all the details mentioned for the listeners. And thank you for joining us on this important conversation, listeners. Remember that if you or someone you know is facing domestic violence, help is available. We'll have all the details and the helpline details in the show notes. And also, if you want to connect with Danielle or explore her coaching, be sure to check out the show notes with her website details and also about her Facebook groups. And stay safe, stay empowered, and thank you again for listening. Feel free to share this conversation with anyone you know they need. And don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review. This is your host signing off. Thank you.